To me, it didn't really seem like there was a difference between going to hell in 70 years when I die or going to hell right now. Those are some very heavy thoughts for an 11-year-old boy. Hello. If you're new here, my name is Ian. You may have seen me on Instagram or TikTok. I am so glad that you're here and I am so excited to be back on YouTube. These past couple weeks have really revived a passion for YouTube that I had forgotten about. Thank you all so much for all of your support on last week's video. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll leave a link right over here. There are not a ton of updates about that situation other than that it has been reported to the correct people and it is now out of my hands. I hope that you all have had the best week ever. This week has been super hectic for me, but this weekend I'm really excited. It's gonna be San Francisco Pride with some of my favorite people, and I figured what better way to close out Pride Month than to tell my coming out story, which is one of my most commonly asked questions. Now, before we get into this, coming out is a very sensitive and different situation for every single person. Some people come out without thinking twice about it. Some people take years and years to think about it. Some people hold it in. So this is by no means a blueprint of what coming out should look like. Actually, I think I have a little bit of a unique coming out story in some ways, but I am really excited to share it with you and answer questions in the comments and maybe hear about your coming out stories. Just to get this story started, to set the scene a little bit, my mom's best friend told her that I was going to be gay when I was about 4 years old. I was definitely showing some signs. When I was little, I liked to wear tutus. I liked to put long pants on my head and put rubber bands in them and pretend I had long hair. I loved Polly Pockets and Barbies. I always played as girl characters. If at my age right now, I saw a child that acted the exact same way that I did when I was little, I would say, whoa. He is definitely not going to be straight. And I think a lot of other people knew that too. Obviously, this is not a representation of every gay person ever, but I definitely had a lot of feminine interests. I really pushed my parents' comfortability in a lot of ways, but that's what gay kids are for. I grew up in a very conservative Christian house. I went to a Church of Christ. If you don't know what that is, it's one of the no instruments, completely a cappella, women cannot lead kind of churches. The church would talk pretty openly about voting against homosexuality, voting against abortion, things like that. I would say that not only the general population of the church was conservative, but the leaders of the church were also not afraid to make a statement that the church was conservative. And so I grew up conservative. I identified as a Republican until I was 18 or 19 years old. I was very involved in church. My dad was a deacon. I was at church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday morning, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and any other days that they had special events. My parents homeschooled us intentionally so we could be more involved with the church. I competed in a Bible Bowl every year, and I got first place every year from kindergarten to 6th grade, which was all of the years I was allowed to compete. I was a Bible fanatic. I'm the third of 5 kids, and my parents made this deal with us that every time we read through all 66 books of the Bible, we would get money, and I did it 3 times. I had a passion for Christianity and the Lord and the Bible, and if I could only see where I am now. A 180. But that was my life for many years. I remember in 2008, there was a pretty big proposition in California, basically deciding if they wanted to allow same-sex marriage to be legal in California. I remember the church speaking against it, and I remember asking my mom what being gay even was, because I had no idea. And that's the first time at 8 years old that I really learned what being gay even meant. Fast forward a couple years, I think I was about 10. My church had this thing called Dinner on the Grounds, where basically during the summer we would just eat dinner outside and play volleyball and all kinds of stuff. I think there was one week where a water balloon fight was involved, and so people were taking off their shirts. Now this is weird. This is weird. I don't admit this to many people, but bear with me. I remember seeing my sister's best friend's brother take off his shirt. The only thing that I kept thinking the whole entire night, every time I looked at him, was, I really want a piggyback ride from him. And I didn't know what that means. I didn't know why I kept thinking it, but that's just all I could think about. I was like, I want to ride on his back. As a kid, I think especially without sexual hormones or anything like that going on yet, I think all it was really was me wanting physical touch with another boy. I had always had pretty much exclusively girlfriends. I didn't spend a ton of time around boys my age because they wanted to talk about cars and guns and sports, and I was not interested in any of that. I wanted to play with my Barbies. But I remember going home and thinking for that whole week, like, why can I not stop thinking about this guy? He was probably like 16 at the time. He was significantly older than me. It was such a weird and conflicting feeling, and it took me weeks to put together that it was an attraction. I think because in my family it was just known that that was wrong. I didn't even entertain the thought that that could be what it was. Once once I put that together, I kind of started to freak out. I doubled down on the Bible. I started reading more. I started praying more. I told my friends and family that I had a crush on this girl from choir. Now that I say that out loud, I realize that's the gayest thing I could have come up with. Oh my God, I can't believe that. I think that my parents were really happy to hear that I had a crush on a girl because I think they had fears in the back of their mind that I was gay. I wasn't allowed to date or anything. I was literally 10 years old, but they encouraged it and they asked about her and they asked what I liked about her, and my dad had talks with me about what it would look like if we got married one day. And during all of this time, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, holy shit, I don't think I actually like this girl, which was a really weird position to be in. So that went on for a few months. I turned 11 and I was still having these feelings. I prayed about them every night. I begged God to take them away. I could not imagine that he would make me something that was so sinful and would send me straight to hell. Because I was homeschooled, a lot of my schooling was at my own pace. So during this time, I got really sad. I would spend a lot of time in my room and I would just do schoolwork all day, every day. I finished my whole entire grades coursework by Thanksgiving in November, which was way ahead of schedule. And so my mom definitely knew that something was up. One night I was doing homework and crying in my bed, and my mom came in to tell me that dinner was ready, and she saw that I was crying. She told me, "You can tell me anything, what's going on?" And I said, "I can't tell you this." And immediately, without hesitation, she said, "Do you think you're gay?" I will never forget the feeling of my heart dropping so low to the floor. It was like admitting to murder. My stomach was in knots. My heart was racing. Tears were streaming from my eyes. I couldn't stop. And she just held me. We both knew that she did not accept it and that she would not be willing to support me being in a gay relationship. And at this time, I was fully convinced that I was just going to hell. Those are some very heavy thoughts for an 11-year-old boy. I don't remember anything that my mom said in that moment. I don't know if she did say anything. She obviously went and told my dad. We had so many conversations about it. Conversations about being celibate. My mom said, well, Paul was celibate in the Bible. He never got married. Maybe you could be like him. You could be a disciple for Jesus and help other people that have the same issues that you do, but you can stay celibate. For a while, that's what I wanted to do. I thought that that was the only way that I would be able to not go to hell, was if I devoted my life to Jesus and just made sure that I never acted on any of those feelings. By 13 and 14 years old, I was situationally depressed. All of my friends were talking about boys that they liked, or talking about getting into a relationship, or talking about having crushes, and I just knew that I was not allowed to feel any of those feelings. Things got pretty bad, and without going into a ton of detail, I was hospitalized twice when I was 14. I had a lot of really harmful thoughts. To me, it didn't really seem like there was a difference between going to hell in 70 years when I die or going to hell right now. And looking back at 14-year-old me, I wish that I could just give him a hug. There was a point when I decided I'm going to hell either way, so I might as well do what I want. So I started talking to boys online. My mom and dad's method of parenting was very abstinence-based. So there was never any sexual education. There was never any education on being safe online. The assumption was just that you're not going to do those things, so you don't need to know. At 14 and 15 years old, I was talking to 22 and 23-year-olds online, which I realize now were very predatory, but I had no idea at the time. I was meeting up with people behind my parents' back. It was not a good situation. Truly, I was just a self-loathing teenager looking for any sort of attention from any man that I could get it from. I wish that that version of Ian could have seen what my life looks like today. My junior and senior year of high school, I ended up going to a little charter school instead of being homeschooled like I had been my whole life, and that really did change everything for me. I met friends that came from different backgrounds, who had different parents, who weren't religious, and I didn't even know that that was really a thing. I had always been told that there were families out there that weren't religious, but they were very demonized, and I stayed far away from them. Learning that people could exist and families could be run in ways that my family didn't run was absolutely mind-blowing. During those couple years, I became so much more comfortable with myself, so much more confident, and I ended up going to San Francisco for school, which helped even more. When I became a student at San Francisco State, I was pretty comfortable with my sexuality, but I was still a very hardcore Republican. And you can imagine that San Francisco is definitely not the city you want to be in as a hardcore Republican, but I only picked it because I wanted wanted to be around other gay people, and that's exactly what I got, and that's exactly what I needed. So many people in college shaped the way that I view politics and view the world and view religion and view sexuality in ways that they don't even know, because I kept my identity so close to me. Obviously, I was out as gay, but I didn't talk about anything else. It was just hugely formative for me to see people from other backgrounds. I ended up sending a letter to my parents basically saying that if I didn't feel comfortable being gay around them, which I did not, I wouldn't see them anymore. And to be honest, they responded a lot better than I thought they would. Every time I told anyone about my parents, they would always say, "Oh, don't worry, they'll come around. And I would always get so frustrated because I was like, you don't know my parents. You don't know how they are. You don't know how strict they are. It really didn't feel like a possibility, but they have come so much further than I ever would have expected or hoped. It has taken a lot of conversation. It has taken years of discussion and debate and trying to help them understand where I'm coming from, what I'm feeling, what other people in my community are feeling, but they really are making steps. And I understand that not every parent is going to do that, but I do believe that most parents, as time goes on, will open up to it a lot more than you think they will. My parents and I are at a point where I can talk to them about going to Pride. I don't really know what their feelings are about me going to Pride, but I do know that I can at least say it and they don't say anything negative about it. We talk about gay marriage, we talk about trans issues, we talk about a lot of different political things, some that we agree on, some that we don't, but they really are open to learning, which I am endlessly grateful for. It has taken a lot of patience and empathy for me, which I understand I am not obligated to give them, because they've had a lot of questions and a lot of growth to do. I see them pretty often. We are so much closer to each other than I ever would have guessed that we would be. I have actually told them how much their responses hurt me when I did come out, and all of the different things that they said and did through that period that really made me feel isolated and made me feel in danger. And I hope that that door of communication stays open and we can keep talking about things that they could have improved or things that they can improve now. My own journey with my sexuality has been such an experience outside of my parents and everything else. I'm so grateful for the work that I've put in, the people that have come into my life and helped reshape the way that I view the world, for the work that my parents have put in, for the relationships that I have today, and for all of the support that I've found online. In a way, my whole content creating journey revolves around this, around finding community, around finding commonality between people, shared experiences, and building community from that. That's what I try to do. I always want my pages to be a safe space for anybody who is questioning or exploring sexuality. It is an insane journey, and I know that I came out when I was really young, and I actually didn't even really get to come out. I was a little bit outed, I guess you would say, by my mom, but not intentionally. But I came out when I was really young. Because of that, I've had so many years to come to terms with it, to think about it, to experience what it is like to be a gay man. And that itself is so intricate. How I dress, how I walk, how I act, how I talk, all of those things are influenced by me being gay. And I've had to decide what level I want to embrace those things on to become the most authentic version of myself. I personally have a lot of tells that I'm gay. I love to wear crop tops. I love my booty shorts. I have a high-pitched voice. Other people don't have those things, and maybe those things aren't a part of their journey, but other things are. I just fucking love talking to gay people and learning about stories and how we all got to where we are. I think it's a really beautiful thing when you learn to accept something about yourself that the world tells you not to. If you have any questions for me about my coming out story or anything related to that, please feel free to put them in the comments. I will either answer them in the comments or maybe I will end up doing a Q&A if there's enough of them. I'm an open book, and I am in love with the place that I've gotten to with my sexuality and how comfortable I am with it. And to any of you who are maybe questioning or scared to come out, remember that there is no timeline. You can do it now, you can do it a year from now, you can do it 10 years from now, and that all depends on your level of comfortability and safety. Living authentically is the best decision that I have ever made in my life, and I am so glad to be where I am, but I also recognize that it is definitely a privilege to live as an out gay man and to have the support system that I do. And I'm just really grateful for my story and for how hard I've fought to get here and for how hard other people fought for me to be able to live like this. Everything is connected, and I think that's the coolest thing ever. I have rambled far more than enough. I can talk about this for 3 weeks straight without taking a breath, but I will stop here. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for watching. I am so excited to keep this journey going, and I can't wait to see you again next week. Also, I do have a little merch line in case you're curious about where I got this cool thing from. I know you've been looking at it the whole video. I'll put the link in the description. Thank you and good night.